Hi guys, welcome to week 6. This week we looked at nonverbal communication. You're addressing nonverbal communication both in your writing assignment and in your discussion post, so you will be saturated with nonverbal communication this week. Nonverbal communication is defined as any means other than language. So it could be facial expressions, it could be personal space, eye contact, silence, the way that people do time, and also meanings that we send through other things like wearing a t-shirt. So both verbal and nonverbal communication are symbolic. They communicate meaning and their pattern, but there are some differences. So nonverbal communication is learned unconsciously. You learn to shrug from your parents. You learn messages to send through other people. So because of that, it is even more culturally bound than verbal communication is. Also, a lot of it is about socialization. Your parents tell you that you need to shake someone's hand when you meet them. You learn that amongst your friends, it's appropriate to hug them when you encounter them in the street. And nonverbal communication can substitute or reinforce or contradict verbal behavior. So if I say, yeah, you can do it, but I'm sort of going like this, my verbal and nonverbal messages are conflicting with each other. Generally, people believe nonverbal cues more than they believe verbal cues. And you can think about how important this is in a job interview, for example. So verbal communication usually is conveying very specific contextual information, whereas nonverbal behavior often communicates the relational aspect of the message. So relational messages are how we feel about someone. Do you like them? Do you not like them? Are you afraid of them? But it can be really easily misinterpreted based on the context of the situation. So if you're going to try not to hastily judge nonverbal behaviors, think about the context, think about what other messages are being sent, and consider the verbal with the nonverbal together. Nonverbal behaviors often also communicate status and power, so posture, gestures, and use of space may also communicate what the relationship between the two people are. Some interesting cultural variations are often facial expressions. So, for example, while in the US, smiling is considered a genuine thing, in Russia, for example, smiling is often considered being disingenuous or lying. Paralinguistics is the study of vocal behaviors like pitch and volume. Vocal qualities are terms and tone, and vocalizations are sounds that don't fit into the formal structure of language. Personal space is the bubble. Americans tend to want to have a lot of personal space, whereas many other cultures don't mind if people are so close. There's also contact cultures and non-contact cultures. So in contact cultures, people stand closely together while talking, make more eye contact, whereas in non-contact cultures, they stand further apart. They often don't make eye contact. There are different gestures that exist. There's emblems that have a specific verbal translation, such as waving goodbye. Illustrators accompany speech. So maybe say, oh, it's this much. Regulators control and direct, like turn taking within, you wait your turn to say something. And adapters are things that are related to manage emotions. A big part of this chapter, too, is talking about time orientation, monochronistic and polychronistic. Monochronistic time cultures value time as money, and being punctual is really important, whereas polychronistic cultures, many things happen at once. Things get done because of personal relationships, not in spite of. And even within mono or polychronistic cultures, there can be variation. There's importance of silence in different cultural groups, and you can see that in the US, generally silence is not a good thing. People will fill in the gap, whereas you saw the example in Japan that silence is used to show respect. we also had this whole idea of cultural spaces and the idea that we have a home and a neighborhood and that this is conveying a message as well. And we also had this idea of cyberspace as a space that was really kind of interesting, and how communication occurs within those spaces as well. So yeah, so it was a pretty short chapter. Nonverbal often tends to go that way. So hopefully this is helpful for you as you're doing your writing. And we will move forward next week.